when I feel like I'm not roping good. I feel like it's not so much my roping that's having an issue, it's my riding that's having an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that with most students that I help with, that 90% of the stuff that I help with is horsemanship and how to ride the horse and stay with the horse better and get the best out of the horse. And
This is Season 3 of The Score, the Team Roping Journal's regular podcast where the team roping world talks. We've told the stories of some of the greatest cowboys, horses, and moments in the sport, and we're so far from done. In 2020, we'll bring you more of what you've come to expect, like interviews with the best cowboys and cowgirls we know, and we'll dive even deeper into subjects you care about. Look for more audio editions of the Team Roping Journal stories you might have missed in print, and learn about the great horses shaping the sport and great challenges facing our industry. All this and more in 2020. I'm Chelsea Schaefer. Hey everyone, welcome to The Score. Our guest today is Cesar de la Cruz, perhaps the most popular guest we've ever had, and that's for good reason. In our first interview from 2019 with the 9-time NFR healer, de la Cruz opened up about his upbringing on the rough side of Tucson and how it shaped the roper and the man he is today. I promise you, we've not had any conversation like that one with Cesar. So this time around, I catch up with de la Cruz as he decides to go home after a brutal 2020 season that was mired with rodeo cancellations and a whole lot of long drives between the few rodeos that there were. Cesar's shifting his focus to teaching roping lessons and making great horses, and he's regrouping for 2021. In the process, he's reflecting on the horse-making journey and how he's grown and changed since the early years of his career. I'm so glad Cesar and I have been friends for so long and that we're able to have a conversation like this. I think it's really valuable, especially for young ropers and people who are kind of making their path in the world, because Cesar's really candid about how tough it is right now and how life after rodeo is becoming a reality for him. Enjoy this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and thanks to Cesar for a great conversation. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by Fastback Ropes. So enjoy the episode, and I will talk to you more at the commercial break in the middle of the show. Hey, Cesar, what are you doing?
Well, I'm just kind of easing around, just living the good life over here in Colorado.
Yeah. Now, where did you come from that you ended up here in Colorado right now?
Last rodeo was Castle Rock, and I was there yesterday afternoon at the performance. And right now in Colorado, it sure does beat Arizona weather right now, so we're going to hang out for a couple days and head to some rodeos.
Now, you said your last rodeo. Are you entered anywhere else for the rest of the summer? Tell me what your plans are.
My plans are right now, didn't win much the last month, so I'm going to kind of start doing a few lessons the month of August, and then pick back up in September again is what I'm going to try to do.
Gotcha. So this has been the weirdest year in rodeo history. Tell me, how has your experience been throughout COVID-19 and with what's been going on in rodeo?
Well, me personally, it was a strange deal for me. I was at Houston at the rodeo, and I was fixing the rope and the next set of guys. I got there early. Houston's got one of the best pro rodeo committees, and they take care of us over there. So I'm just so pumped up. I'm glad to be there. And then they say, you got to go home. It's going to be a pandemic. Everything's going to get shut down. And so I was terrified. I got 3 little boys, and just kind of, crazy times we're living in right now. And so when it all, I was wondering how I'm going to make a living. This is what I've done ever since I was, 15, 16 years old. I've dedicated my life to trying to make a living with my rope. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And when they shut down rodeos and roping and stuff, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm terrified. How am I going to support my family now? And so, thankfully, I have some great friends from South Dakota, Neil Wanless and Jody Wanless. They took really good care of me. They sent me a handful of horses and kind of kept me going there. And when the rodeos picked back up, it was kind of sad. Uh, some of my favorite rodeos when I first come out and rodeoed the Cheyennes, the Houston, the Pendletons. Those are my all-time favorite rodeos, and I get a different feeling at those rodeos. It's kind of a different rush, I guess. But now they canceled all the major rodeos. Cheyenne has been going on through the Great Depression, through all the World Wars, the First and Second World War and stuff. It's like it's amazing how the COVID deal really shut down a lot of the stuff. But to be honest with you, the last few months, there's a lot of little fair rodeos that usually don't get much teams or contestants at them. Like just last week, I was at Sydney, Iowa, and I was talking to a gentleman. They had double the teams that they usually have, or double in every event. They had to have a slack in the bull riding and the saddle bump riding. So all the little fair rodeos are really getting a boost out of this. Like it's the rodeo coming into town, and so it's kind of cool. I've never been to Iowa for the rodeos, and to see when I hear the expression corn-fed Midwestern type stuff, like I know what that's like. Cornfields are everywhere out there, and it's the weather was nice in the summertime, and like the people love the rodeo out there. It's kind of cool. But yeah, like the COVID thing is really kind of it's been a weird stage in my rodeo career, and I never even thought about it. I guess I thought about it getting too old. Like what am I going to do when I can't go rodeo no more? And I got a kind of a smack in the face, right out there in Houston. And it's like I need to find another way to make a living. And so doing lessons, a few private lessons, got me through the COVID deal, and getting some outside horses from a few people really helped out. Kind of, like I said, pay the bills and make a living. Work the little boys and
I feel like
the arena,
as a man or like as a provider for your family, this would have been, like you're saying, a really concerning time and a really hard time to think about how you're going to support your family and how, like, seeing those little boys and worrying about how you're going to feed them. That was probably like a different thing than you've ever felt before, or a different feeling than you've ever felt before, maybe.
Very much so. It was kind of a little bit of a helpless feeling. Like I just, like it was, God blessed me with the ability to rope and stuff. I found that out at a young age when I was put on this earth to do, and so being able to kind of have to go back and like you want to make a living with your rope, you need to find another way to make a living with your rope. And helping the next generation of ropers and helping people enjoy roping is what I enjoy doing too. And then training horses, I've always enjoyed doing that. So like you said, it was a different time because like I've always provided with the family with my rope and going roping and stuff. So it's been a growing experience for me. I've learned a lot about myself and what I can't do. I just set my mind straight and go after it.
Yeah. Have you ever given a lot of roping lessons before? Is it something that is relatively new to you, or is it something you would do sometimes in the winter in Arizona? Like, tell me about your roping lesson program.
It's something I never really. I did a whole lot. It was just every now and again. I would just do it. I learned a lot from Clay O'Brien Cooper when I was, part of some roping. Like I was team roping, total team roping. Clay was my hero, and I followed him. And he taught me a lot about how to explain roping and to break it down for the person to understand. And to be honest with you, that was huge for me. And after, to be honest with you, explaining team roping to somebody that's never done it before, is very, 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 very hard, and
Yeah.
teaches somebody to even hold the rope the proper way, or how the swing works. And let's rope the dummy, and now let's get on a horse and learn how to do it on the horse. All those steps a person needs to know. Like I take for granted. When I go practice, and I don't even think about anything but trying to make my horse work right, and it comes second nature to me. Explaining to somebody how to do it, something that is second nature to you, is very, very difficult. And spending time with Cleo, like I said, really helped me learn to explain it. So I say probably my mid 20s. I'm 37 now. Is when I started doing it a little bit, and now I'm finding out that help the people with the rope and can help me provide for my family. So it's working out really good. And like I said, I was glad to hang out with Cleo because he taught me how to explain it the easy way, basic way, where everybody can learn how to rope.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe if you're doing it while you're competing, maybe you might learn some things, even if you're like talking to a group of like 4s and 5s, it might remind you of some core elements that you should focus on, like that you haven't thought about. And it's like, man, maybe I should be worrying about this more than other things. When you're in the middle of it, you kind of forget the fundamentals, and I bet it brings you back to some foundational stuff.
Absolutely. Out here, when I'm rodeoing, when I feel like I'm not roping good, I feel like it's not so much my roping that's having an issue. It's my riding that's having an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that with most students that I help with, that 90% of the stuff that I help with is horsemanship and how to ride the horse and stay with the horse better and get the best out of the horse. And to be honest with you, hanging out with Dakota Kurtzes 5 years ago when he decided to quit rodeo, and we broke it down one afternoon and tried to, and talked about the horse show stuff. And he mentioned to me about he wanted me to help him out, but we got to learn. I got to start riding better. And so I kind of went on that journey with him. And like I'm telling you, the last 5 years, I've learned so much about my roping and how to ride a horse. Horses that were always kind of, when I was coming up, that were hard to ride were horses that were real free, that run real hard, that had big stops, but kind of controlling the stop, not letting it stop too hard sometimes. Anyways, like learning how to ride with my legs would help the horses out a lot more. I didn't do that before, and now that I'm able to do that, my range of horsepower is changing a lot. I can ride show horses, and I can get my rodeo horses too, and that's really kind of got another love for roping, because it's always challenging. It seems like every time you get on a different horse, the horsemanship is always going to change a little bit. You have to ride this horse a certain way, and I feel like the greats like JD8 and Joseph Harrison's my age, and I think he's one of the best horsemen around. Guys like that, their ability to ride a horse is uncanny, and the feel that they have for the animal is just awesome. And to get the best, any horse that they get on, they can absolutely get the very best out of that horse, and that's kind of what I'm learning and what I'm trying to pass on to other ropers, because I feel a lot of times that the lower level roper is kind of more in their horse's way as far as being off balance or pulling on them or kicking them when they shouldn't be kicking them, and helping them figure out the horse where they can get the very best out of the animal is what I try to help out a lot with now.
And now Dakota's doing, obviously we had a big story in a few issues ago about Dakota and what he's doing, but he's doing the cow horse stuff. Are you experimenting with any cow horse stuff, or is your work happening on rope horses, on young horses? Where are you putting in the work on your horsemanship, or have you done any cow horse stuff?
I haven't reached the level of my in my cow horse ability to go out there and try to compete at it, but I found out that spending time with Dakota and his journey and trying to do the cow horse stuff, when I go hang out with him and I'm riding with him and we're doing cow horse stuff, I find out how the similarities of how I want my horses to work. The cow horse guys make them horses do exactly what I want a heel horse to feel like. Whether it's, how, for example, turning one off the fence, I want a horse to be able to throttle and kind of get in the rhythm with the cow. And then when I go to turn the cow off the fence, I want my horse to be able to have his hind end down, accelerating through, to be able to push through to stay with the cow as I turn the cow off the fence. And circling him, I found that that's really good for the horse to learn to kind of keep his distance and stuff like that. And then the reining pattern that they do. My warm up sessions do a lot of I do a lot of circles, a lot of trotting circles to the right, to the left. I pull on my horses a little bit more, trying to get the feel, trying to get them soft in the bit, more feel in my legs. And when I warm up my horses like that, and I do that to the young horses, when I go to rope on them, they understand what I'm wanting to do more, and I have less of a fight with them when it comes down to trying to train them or trying to teach them to do something. They are more responsive to what I want. And then if I'm finding out with these guys that the less I rope on them and put the roping kind of pressure on them and more kind of the cow pressure and put them on like making sure they're riding around and the reining pressure, making sure they ride around the proper way, that they actually enjoy the roping a lot more. When I start putting the roping pressure on them, they take that. They actually like it because they get to chase the cow. They get to do kind of fun stuff. I just really I thank my buddy Dakota all the time for taking his time with me because I really didn't. I made the finals and stuff like that, but I really didn't know how to break the horse down and how to make them work accordingly. He told me that the horse hinges in different places. How they break at the pole, they break at the neck, they bend at the back, and they at the hind end. So if you can make them all work together, get them to slide, you get them to turn, you get them to do everything. If they're not broke proper, you're not going to be able to get them to do the right thing unless, because the horse to me is one of the most amazing animals there is, and they're so smart that they figure out a way because they try to please you so much that they figure out a way, even if they're not broke, they'll work for you. They figure out a way to do it, and not all the time. Sometimes you put a lot of pressure on a horse, they go the other way. They're fight or flight. So they either run off or scared, or they turn up or bucking or fight. They fight back. So learning to get a horse really, really broke and spending that time with a horse makes my roping job better and easier. I'm sure you talk to Billy Jack Sabins in Dakota and Joseph Harrison. Those guys will all agree that the more broke you can get the horse, the better off his team roping journey will be.
Which is so funny because, I'm not saying Annie Oakley or Johnny Ringo weren't broke, but Annie Oakley was 3 when you started heeling on her, right? When you started jackpotting on her, wasn't she super young?
Yeah, she was 3 when I was going roping on her quite a bit, and I was taking her to open ropings when she was 4 and rodeos and stuff. So, and I didn't spend enough time with her you always wish. I feel like I talked to an old man, a gentleman told me that horses, you spend 5 years of your life riding horses. You feel like the 5 years prior you didn't know nothing, and then now you spend another 5 years with the horses, and then it's like, man, I'm learning. You learn so much more all the time, and I feel like some of the greatest horsemen, like I mentioned, J.D. Yates, he knows so much. And I got to visit with Dick Yates a little bit, and his knowledge of horsepower and what a horse is supposed to be like and work like is just I wish them guys would write a book, because they know so much about it, and I feel, trying to be around any kind of rein cow horse or reiner cutters that do a really good job. I'm a real fan of Adon Banuelos. I've known him ever since he was, 16, 17, and he's always had a real great feel for a horse. And he roped for a little while, and then went back to kiting again. But anytime a roper gets to hang out with those kind of people and learn how to get their horse to maneuver the way, the natural way, the way they're supposed to, will in turn make the roping better. So that's kind of what I feel like. That's what I try to teach most at my roping clinics and schools is horsemanship. Because that's nowadays that I've been going to these rodeos, and the game keeps changing and getting faster and faster. And every time I get to thinking how much faster could it possibly get, it gets faster, and the guys are getting more consistent at it. And so I'm finding out though the more you can use your horse, you can pull tenths of a second off the clock here and there, will make you a faster roper, and that's kind of what I'm learning now.
Yeah. Have your tools changed? Were you like a chain port kind of guy 5 years ago, and now you're evolved into, more solid bits? Are you riding in snaffles more, or are the tools just tools? Like, tell me about the bits and if you've evolved in your bit selection at all.
I got such a wide variety of bits. I got Darnell bits. I got Kerry Kelly's. I got Sonny Silva's. I got Pesca's. I got everything. I got. I really like riding correctionals. And I'm learning. I didn't know how to ride solid mouthpiece bits as much as I can. I'm getting better at that now. And I feel like the bit is very important. I used to just use one bit all the time, but I found out rotating bits from time to time really helps keep the horse's mouth soft and keeping them throttled back, because that's real big for me, because I want my horse to be able to kind of throttle and kind of read the cow really good, and then when the headlift goes on, I want him to accelerate a little bit and go up the arena one stride, be able to get to the very end of the steer's hop. The guys say riding to the end of it. That's what they mean by riding to the end of it, to the end of the hop. And having a soft feel for your horse, really important. So when I'm learning from Dakota, I bought a horse from Dakota a while back, and he told me, this horse, when you warm him up, you need to put a ring snaffle or something light, and you need to kind of halfway get him where he's softened a bit, and you stop him, turn him around, do everything with his bit, and then put a tie down with that bit. You ride him, get him where he's soft in that thing, and then whenever you go compete with the bit that you're wanting to go rodeo on, you put a tie down on the bit, and you go rope. But when you warm him up, you got to get that horse soft. Whenever I bought that horse from Dakota, I thought, but if I tried that with all the horses that I get, that would probably make a difference. So, riding around now, I try to have snaffle bits or anything kind of. I got an Argentine snaffle bit. I've got a few different bits that I really like, but just trying to keep the horse's mouth soft and trying to find a bit that the horse likes is very important too. I've rode horses that sometimes they like chain bits. And to me, a chain bit has a lot of feel as far as bending to the right or left. You're not going to have as much blow with those. They'll be in your hand a little bit more. But I've been learning to ride more correctional bits or more solid mouthpiece bits. Those kind of bits, you got to be light with your hands, and you're going to have to release a lot more. You're going to have to riding with these show horse guys now and going to the rope course maturities. Putting your hand down is very, very important for the score. Allows the judge to see the horse work and see how much work they can do by themselves. And so if you can put your hand down and pick up and then put your hand down again, it's very, very important. So I'm learning how to put my hand down. And the new little heel horse I've had for 2 years now, I call him Lucky Bucky. His name is Lucky Luciano. Kind of call him Lucky Bucky for short. But he is, when I got him, he was the kind of horse that would you to get strong in the bit. The harder you pulled, the harder he would pull. The lighter you were with him, the lighter he would be with you. So, and then riding him around the ring stuff and getting to where he feels soft, and then putting a rodeo bit on him or jackpot bit on him, and then he feels really soft that way. So it's a pretty important, and like I didn't know how much, tie downs are pretty important. Like a leather tie down. I don't use a leather tie down as much on my heel horses. I feel leather tie down is good for head horses. They need to kind of lean on it just a little bit for the handle and whatnot. But the heel horse, I use a little more, so like a rope tie down. A lot of times, sometimes a 2-strand rope tie down, but that'll make a difference in the feel on the horse too. Whether you put a softer tie down on them versus a more aggressive tie down, say like a rope tie down, they're not going to lean into a rope tie down. It's kind of, they're going to go only so far, and they're going to want to bit up. And that's what I want my horse to feel like when he's coming around the corner. I want him to bit up real nice. That allows his hind end to get down, allows him to work whenever they get their hind end down like that. And it gets them ready for the jerk too, which is pretty important. When I talk about trying to shave off tenths of a second off the clock, if your horse is in the right position when you do heel and you go to dally, and you get a step or two off your horse and get the steer to come back with you, it'll pull a tenth of a second off the clock.
Yeah, Trevor and I just did a thing on tie downs, and he said pretty much the same thing that you said, as far as Trevor, even on his head horses, prefers a rope nose tie down because he doesn't want them leaning into it, like you said. The rope nose tie down is definitely the best for keeping them in the bridle. Was his take on it, so seems spot on.
Right. When he says something, he's the king. He's like Cleo to me. When Trevor says something, you listen, and he's not going to lead you down the wrong trail. He's gonna send you down the right path.
Yeah, I'm so glad we've done as much as we have with him lately, because I feel like he's figured out all the wrong ways to do things and absolutely mastered the right ways to do it. So it's like a textbook. Like, I have a Trevor Brazil textbook of how to make a rope horse, because man, but then trying to do it exactly like Trevor is not the easiest thing in the world either. Like, it's one thing to know how to do it. It's another thing to like try to implement it. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, like I talked about earlier about the older guys. She's like, the older they get, the more they understand about how the horse works. And like Trevor, all the events that he's done, and he's made the finals healing too, so I respect his game immensely, So like all these events that he's had, these horses, he's had to figure out how to ride them accordingly to get the best out of the horse. And so, like I said, whenever he says something about a horse, whether it's a bit, tie down, how to get the horse to do the right thing, I really listen to him. I respect his game a lot.
I like to tell him that he's like my barrel horse trainer too, because I'll call him and ask him, he hates it, but like I'll call him and ask him a question that is just about a horse in general, and then I'll tell him, hey, guess what? You fixed my second barrel, and he will roll his eyes at me big time because my question, even though it sounded like a real horse question, was not.
That's awesome.
Hey everybody, it's Chelsea, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Fastback Ropes, who are sponsoring our episode today. Their two best sellers are the Cobalt and the Excalibur. They're poly blend core ropes. The Cobalt is a perfect combination of poly and dyed nylon, resulting in a highly durable rope. It's medium in diameter and weight, and will likely appeal to ropers who prefer more tip weight and less body or bounce. Fastback's Excalibur is a nylon poly blend with core construction. It's a bestseller, and it's another medium in diameter rope and weight with core construction. It's durable, it's got reduced body and no bounce, and swings consistent in all weather. Today's tip is about breaking in ropes. Surprisingly, a lot of people don't understand or know the importance of it. To break in your new ropes and help them last longer, rope 5 to 10 and then loosely coil back up and let it rest for a day or so. This will give the rope time to recover and draw back up. It helps extend the life of your rope. The rope makers at Fastback Ropes recommend that strategy, so I guess you probably all better stick to it. Again, thank you to Fastback for bringing us this episode, and thank you for the Fastback tip of the day.
So tell me about you mentioned Lucky Bucky, and on our last podcast, we talked about selling one of your good rope horses before, and that was like a huge, I'm not going to say mistake, but like a huge turning point in your career when you sold all your good ones. And then you were kind of afoot and battling back, with tough times, with you not making the finals this year. Are your good ones going to be for sale again? Or are they, like, what kind of decisions are you going to have to make as far as good rope horses go?
In this game now, especially, you have to have one of the best rope horses out in the game, whether you're a header or a heeler, to get you to where you're at the top of your game. The horse is so important too. My confidence comes a lot from the animal that I'm on at the time, and Lucky to me gives me all the confidence. He fits my style perfect, as far as, especially at the rodeos. I can't, I have it found, as far as he reminds me of Johnny Ringo, the way he works a lot of the times. To get a horse to feel the way he feels, I've been looking for that feel for a long time, and it's I don't want to sell him, I don't like selling my good rope horses, but that's part of this game sometimes. You have to move a few to give the next one another chance to shine.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm learning though is how to pick my horses, and what I'm learning from Lucky is kind of how to get along with him, because Lucky was kind of he's a fighter, he's if you make him mad, he kind of wants to, he bows up a little bit. He's tough type of horse. But if you try to get along with him, he's really, really soft, and he taught me a lot about how to get along with a horse. And the way he's built, to me, he's built perfect for a heel horse. His size, the way his shoulders, his hips, he's perfectly built. So I'm learning how to pick horses. The older I get, I'm finding out the way horses look. In turn is going to a lot of the times going to determine how they're going to work. If they're going to if they're going to be able to stop, they got to kind of have a low hock and kind of have a hind end underneath themselves. Or what I'm going to teach them is going to be, it's going to be hard for me to teach them what I want them to do. They're not physically capable to do what I want them to do. They're not built the right way, So learning how to pick horses is key, and finding one that loves this game as much as that little buckskin horse. It's going to be hard, because he really, really likes. You have to find a horse that enjoys the rodeo game as much as you. I know it sounds crazy, but like some of the best rope horses, when you put a saddle on them and you get them in the arena and you back them in the box, they fire and they work after you just hauled them 12 hours, and you're tired and you're sore. You can't imagine how sore the horse is. Like, think about it. And when they back in there and they work to the best of their ability, a part of the horse has to like their job. And so, to me, finding a horse that has the look, that has the mental attitude, and has the toughness is very, very hard to find for a rodeo type horse. So I'm wanting to stay competitive and go rodeo. I feel like I'm 37. I still got a few good years left in me, I guess. But if I'm going to compete, I want the very, very best horse, because it allows me to have the confidence when I heel a steer or rope a steer, and I feel like I'm on the best horse. It really gets my confidence up. If I feel like I'm not on one of the better horses out there, I feel like my roping doesn't shine the way it should be. And so I've got another horse that I really like a lot. I call Quattro. He's a stall horse. He's a lot the same way. He's a fighter too. He's got a lot of fire in him, and I didn't know how to handle those kind of horses back. I think back when I was making the finals and when I was my career first started out. Those kind of horses, I wasn't able to really handle those as good. Annie Oakley, she had tons of fire, but she was real kind as far as wanting to please you. the horses that I got right now, at any time, if I wanted to get in a fight with them and kind of, I could mess them up at any time. I try to keep them enjoying it as much as possible. I try to ride them when I'm roping. I try to score. I try to, kind of keep them working really sharp and nice, and making them halfway enjoy it. That way, when I do ask them to give me all they got, when I go to the rodeo or the jackpot, they have it, and they'll give it to me. Um, just like I said, trying to. I'm learning so much about horses, and trying to find the ones that can go to the elite level. Um, I felt like I struggled when I did sell the good horse. I called Biggie back in the day. I struggled, and didn't replace him with what I should have. I kind of I had a nice horse, but like I said, he wasn't. I had a mare and a gelding, but they physically weren't capable of doing what I was wanting them to do. They were nice horses, and a step lower, say a number 9 elite roper that would have been an awesome horse for a person like that. But when you get out here to the rodeos, and you need a horse to be able to score, you need a heel, and this is a heel horse. You need to be a heel horse that can score really well. You need a heel horse that can almost outrun the head horse, and you need a heel horse that can completely drag his hind end. And when you dally, he's got to finish. And when I mean finish, he's got to pull the head rope, try to pull the head rope out of the head rope's hand, out of the header's hand. He's got to really try to finish, and that's gonna take you from say I went to to rodeo the other day at Vernal, Utah. 4 flat won the rodeo, 4-5 won last pole. That's a half a second. And there was tons of 4.6s. There was a bunch of 4.7s, a bunch of 4.8s and stuff. The only thing that separates those runs right there, it's just tenths of a second. It's just a little bit of a finish here, maybe a better dally here, and that's pretty important to be real with the person self. Whenever you want to go rodeo and you want to compete against the best guys in the world, it's you got to bring your A game, the best of the best. Only kind of can hang out here. I really feel the best horses and the headers and heelers with the really good attitudes, and because it's a year-long deal. If you're going to give up, in February, it's going to be hard to make the final. It's you gotta keep your head down from January all the way to October 1st. And then if you make the finals, you're only halfway home if you make the finals. The top 15 guys got another half of the year within 10 days at the NFR to shine, and that's how you pick out your world champion. It's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, absolutely. And you figured out pretty much that raising horses is not for you in this process?
Anybody that likes horses loves baby horses for sure, and I like raising them and seeing them. I had one of my favorite horses of all time, Muddy Waters. I got him when he was a yearling from Joe Brayman, and to see his whole career come about, and now my wife Arena, she rides him and she heads and heels on him and breakaways on him, and to see all the training that I put in on him, all the process it took to get him to that level, it's just really, really cool to see, because he was just a little turd. When they're yearlings, they're just turds. They're always in everything. They're cutting themselves here, they're banging themselves there. It's just, and I've had a little bad luck here the last year or two with colts with babies, but I feel like if you're gonna have a young colts, I spent a lot of time with Mr. Bill Myers, and he's got it down to a science. But his ranch over there is beautiful. He got a really good spot to turn them out where they can run up and down the mountains and hills, and they cross creeks, and it's just letting the horse be a horse. That way, whenever you go to start competing on them, they know how to move their feet and stuff like that. I think that's pretty important when you raise them in a stall and kind of always have them up. And I just feel like you can teach them how to move their feet the proper way, but when you get a horse that's turned out pastures like that, and you go to kind of get them to ask them to go do something, usually you get a buck or something like that the first few rides. They will do something. They're not deadheads by no means.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
Now, any idea as far as you roped with Jackson Tucker this year, as far as after in the fall when you get things going again in September, what are your plans for partners?
I told Jackson that he's a great kid. I enjoy roping with him. He comes from a great family. He's got good horses. Great attitude for a kid his age. He's got a lot of stuff going for him. These rodeos, I feel real bad because when I quit riding them horses and stuff, I went to rodeoing a little bit. And I didn't have the second half to the season as good as I should have, and I run a little bit low on funds. And as anybody that's rodeoed out here knows, that it's pretty expensive out here if the person doesn't win accordingly. And the big rodeos, they the Cheyennes, the Napa, Idahos, all these big rodeos where you can win $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 at some of these rodeos. Those were huge hits, and when me and Jackson, we placed and we did good, but when we did win, it wasn't enough to keep the money rolling. And so, like I said, I'm taking a break for a little while and kind of going back to my next passion, which is teaching people how to rope, and I might get a few outside horses. I might just, my goal now, it's changed, it's actually 24 hours. I kind of made this decision, but I'd like to stay in the top 35 and kind of hold my position that way. That way I get in all the winter rodeos. Hopefully everything goes back to normal, and the winter rodeos will go, they'll let everybody go. I know it probably won't ever go back to normal else, but I really hope the rodeos go back to normal next year. That would make my heart happy for sure. But I haven't ever, I miss my boys a lot. The last 15 years, I spent 16 years. I've been dedicating my life to being a world champion team roper, and the last 10 years, I've spent a lot of time away from the house, and right now my boys are in Montana at my mother-in-law's place in Polson, Montana. So I'm actually going to do a few lessons and try to go spend some time with the boys, go to the lake, and kind of I miss them a lot. There's only one thing that I love more than roping and going to the rodeos is hanging out with the boys. So any time that like I said, I'm going to go try to hustle and do some lessons, but I'm going to go try to spend time with the boys a little bit this summer. They're going fishing and skiing and kind of being little wild boys, and I like to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Arena's been roping. That's so exciting.
Yes. She's been very exciting for me too. I've been wanting her to get back into the game the last few years, especially with the breakaway and the roping pain as much as it has been. And that Muddy horse, she's always really liked that horse, and he's 11 years old now, and he's really coming to his own the last few years. I feel like he's talented. He's good at everything. He can head, he can heel. I've never run barrels on him before, but I'm sure he'd make a barrel horse. I'd hate to put a flank strap on him and make him buck, but I bet you can make him buck too. He's just an awesome horse. I'm really, really blessed and thankful that Joe Brayman was thinking about me when he gave me the horse, and he's just talented, and I'm just glad she's gonna take him and do all the good with him, because I feel like all the good as I got out of him as a heel horse, I feel his true talent was as a head horse. He's built a little bit bigger, and I felt like I had to help him out with shortening up his stride and spending time with Dakota. He taught me how to shorten one stride up a little bit running down the arena. If you had one that's a little bit longer strided, and I struggled with that with him a lot, and by showing him how to shorten up his stride when he got to the cow, really changed his game when it got to being a heel horse. But he just got to run, and when he got to the steer, he kind of knew how to shorten up the stride naturally, and shoot head, and was from day one he was always a really cool head horse. So I'm thankful Arena and him are getting to rope and rope together, and hopefully they'll do a lot of winning together too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some
Are
of
you
my
talking?
two favorites together.
Yeah, absolutely. Your wife is one of my favorites, that's for sure. She's awesome. Now, are you? The world is a pretty crazy place right now, obviously, and with COVID and all kinds of things going on in the country. Are you talking to your boys a lot about what is going on in the world as a whole, and how do you talk to them, and how do you tell them, like, kind of where their place is in the grand scheme of things right now? That's a hard question.
To be honest with you, I don't want to get too political with it, else, but like, I got a different stance on it, but I try to tell them to be good people. I mean, if you're a good person, people will respect you, and that's what it comes down to. I don't care what color you are, as long as you're a good person. That goes a long ways with me, and I'm just, I want them. I'm bringing them up in crazy times, and I stress out about that more than anything else. I just want them to be smart and responsible, and like I said, try to be a good person, love everybody, and I tell them all the time, Jesus died for everybody. He didn't die just for certain people. He died for everybody, and God loves everybody, So I try to keep them with that, because they're really sweet, good little boys. My family did a great job with me, raising me, but going to the public schools that I went to, and outside of my home, being around the places that I was at, I had to grow up pretty fast, and I got to see a lot of things that little kids shouldn't see, and so I'm thankful that they're able to kind of be little boys for as long as possible. That's why, when June started going down and there was a lot of riots happening and stuff, I live in Phoenix, and I know how crazy the towns can be. I know what it's like to live in kind of a big city, and so I was really worried about it. And so whenever it was safe enough for them, because they were right in all the big towns, I sent them up to Montana as fast as possible, and I'm thankful I did too, because with all the stuff going down and crazy stuff that's happening, that I'm seeing, going to these places that I get to go to, they're in a little town in Augusta, Montana, and then they're at the lake house in Folsom. The population's not very many. There's not very many people up there, and they get to be
how
little
nice
boys.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I just. With all the craziness going down, they still are able to be little boys and go hunt and fish, and like I said, be happy, and that's more than anything. I know parents, that's all they want for their kids is to be happy, and that's all I hope for, is that they're happy little boys.
That's wonderful. I know there's probably a lot of parents that wish they could do that. That's such a blessing that you guys are able to do that for them, for sure.
Such a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm glad we finally got to do part 2 of this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everything you do for me.
Oh, good. Cesar, thank you so much. Have a good one, and holler if you need anything while you're in Colorado.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you all for making it the whole way through the score. Stay tuned. We've got a fun little extra part of the interview coming up right after this last Fastback commercial. Thank you again, Fastback Ropes, for sponsoring the score, especially with this conversation with your great endorsee, Cesar de la Cruz.
All right, we're going to wrap up with 3 quick questions that you have to answer fast, okay? It's a new thing I'm doing. I'm trying it out with you first. All right, you got to answer it just first thing that comes to your mind, but it should be pretty easy. I'm warning you. All right, what bit is on your competition bridle right now?
Sunny Silva.
All right. What rope is in your rope bag right now?
The Venom hard medium from Fastback.
Good. If you could have one horse in the game right now, you could take somebody's best horse. Who would you take and why?
I don't want anybody's horse. I want Lucky Bucky. He's my favorite. I've been wanting a horse that can score, that can run, that can do all the stuff that he can do, and that's why I'm still out here. If I wouldn't be out here, I feel like I got the best horse in the game.
That's awesome. I'm glad that's your answer.